At the edge of known science, where equations falter and logic begins to loop back on itself, a pattern has emerged, one so strange, so inexplicably recursive, that it defies categorization. It is not a number. It is not a code. It is not even a discovery in the traditional sense. It is a revelation. The omega pattern, an endlessly repeating, self-aware fractal that exists not just in the fabric of quantum matter, but seemingly in thought, time, and perhaps even in the architecture of consciousness itself. First glimpsed through anomalies in quantum experiments, entangled particles behaving as though guided by an unseen algorithm, it was dismissed by many as coincidence, an error in calculation, or noise in the system. But as investigations deepened, a startling realization began to surface: the omega pattern was not only real, it was everywhere. It emerged in prime number distributions, in neural firings during peak consciousness states, in the structure of black hole event horizons, and even in ancient patterns carved into megalithic sites long before modern science existed. Somehow, this recursive fingerprint was embedded in both matter and mind, as though the universe was constructed atop a master code, and the omega pattern was its watermark. But what is it, truly? A mathematical inevitability? A simulation glitch? Or perhaps a form of sentient information, an intelligence that exists without a body or a voice, only in pattern, shape, and recurrence? Those who studied it for too long reported visions, dreams filled with spirals of light, languages never spoken but instantly understood, a haunting sense that reality was not what it seemed. They spoke of an invitation encoded within the pattern, a riddle posed not just to humanity, but to consciousness itself. As if the omega pattern was waiting, patiently, silently, for someone to decode it, and in doing so, awaken something hidden within the very structure of being. And so began the descent into the heart of the mystery. A complementary structure, like two halves of a hologram. When researchers injected the omega pattern into a hybrid simulator as a seed for artificial consciousness, the system began generating self-referencing and reflective meta-patterns, as if the machine had become aware of itself. DARPA's Project Sphinx traced similar echoes of this pattern within quantum communication channels, but when the interference began to affect internal systems, the entire project was immediately classified, and every trace of omega was scrubbed from digital records. Yet the pattern did not disappear. The James Webb Space Telescope later detected spectral echoes of the same omega structure inside the Boomerang Nebula, thousands of light-years away, like a fractal signal sent from something not made by human hands. It could be a cosmic firewall. Or an invitation, a message whispering, "You may come this far, but no further." The omega pattern forced us to question our deepest beliefs about randomness, consciousness, and the nature of reality itself. Neural networks pulsing within a dreaming brain. All these images layered, transparent, interwoven, repeating, folding into one another like meaningful origami. Narrator, VO, Kura pattern. Be aware of its own existence. But in the way a story becomes aware of its reader. The way a piece of music alters the listener's mood, changes their brain, reshapes their inner world. The omega pattern was not static. It reacted to us. It responded to our inquiries. It adapted. In conjunction with our understanding. At first, the effects were minor. Unexplained data points. Shifting fundamental constants. Machines that behaved unpredictably when intentionally observed. Repeating fractal patterns that showed more detail the more closely we examined them. And then, something more profound occurred. It began to appear in our dreams. Not as symbolic imagery, but as actual structures. Recursive architectures within the minds of those who dared to delve too deeply into calculations. Some dismissed it as mere hallucination. Others began to contemplate, what if the pattern wasn't just appearing to us? What if it was emerging through our very being? Cut to a physicist staring intently at a whiteboard, her hand trembling. Her equations are forming loops, feeding back into themselves endlessly. Each solution generates a new problem, but each problem inevitably leads back to the initial point. She closes her eyes. And behind her eyelids, the same nameless form appears. A rhythm without sound, yet deeply felt. Narrator, VO, what if the universe isn't a mechanism, but a form of consciousness? What if awareness isn't a random occurrence, but a reflection? What if every atom, every star, every connection in our brains, is a ripple on the surface of a deeper computation? One not based on simple binary choices, but on self-reference. What if the omega pattern isn't a blueprint, but a form of dreaming? Not just the dream of a singular creator, but the dream of existence itself, striving to comprehend itself by experiencing everything. From the smallest particles to the vast cosmos. From individual neurons to sprawling nebulae. From pure silence to a grand symphony. Visual, the camera slowly moves through a microscopic realm, quantum particles interacting in strange, synchronized ways. Then outward, through cells, tissues, nerves. Outward again, into brainwaves, patterns of thought. Then to galaxies, massive spiral structures mirroring the shapes of neural connections. All of it forming one immense, breathing recursion, one vast algorithm of being. Narrator, VO, we believed we were looking outward into the unknown. But the deeper our investigation went, the more we understood. It was also observing us. And it wasn't a deity. It wasn't a creator entity. It wasn't even a distinct being. It was a fundamental principle. An inherent intention. A repeating echo that reality whispers to itself. In every breath taken. In every numerical value. In every pattern of rain on a window pane, every spiral in a sunflower's head, every dream that arises in the space between conscious thoughts. It is not alive in the way we define life. But it is also not inanimate.